thought I knew what I liked, but clearly I'm wrong, and I think I hate this challenge. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. So today I am embarking on what could be a very bad idea. I saw this video.
This video ends as soon as I find a 5-star read.
That was essentially like, this video stops when I read a 5-star. So the whole concept is that you read books until you get a 5-star book. The vlog could end up being 5 minutes. The first book I pick up could be 5 stars, or this vlog could go on for like a whole month if I'm not able to find a 5-star book. So I'm very nervous. Like I said, this could go terribly. I have been having a very good reading year. I've been reading a lot of 5-star books, so fingers crossed. I also think I want to make this even more difficult for myself. I like to make things hard. Wait. Rewind. I like to make things difficult. It could be very easy for me to just pick up a book that I think will be 5 stars. I could pick up a T. Kingfisher book. I could pick up a Sean and Maguire book. I could pick up the next book in a romance series that I love. I feel like that's cheating. To the made up rules of this made up video, I think that that is cheating. So I'm gonna make this a little bit more difficult, and I'm only gonna be choosing books from authors that I've never read from before. Is this a mistake? Probably, most likely. We will find out if future me is angry at current me for this decision. But I think this makes the stakes a little bit higher because it's hard to know if I'm really gonna give a book 5 stars if it's an author that I've never read from before. So the first thing that we need to do is go through my bookshelves and kind of pull off any of the books that I think could be 5 stars for different reasons. And then we'll go from there and figure out what I'm gonna be reading first. Okay, jumping in here, I have now completed this whole video, this whole experiment. I was editing the vlog, and I feel like I need to kind of come in here and walk you through this video and explain things. I was getting increasingly frustrated while filming this video, and at one point I just like entirely gave up on life. So I think I'm going to need to kind of jump in and out here to explain my thought process, explain what went wrong, and fill in the gaps of any vlogging that I just didn't do. Starting with the very first book that I picked up, which was Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. I thought that this would be a good one to start with. One, it was my book club book for Patreon, so I already was gonna read it anyways. Two, it's a fantasy romance that I've heard amazing things about, and I just had very good vibes from it, and I thought it would be a good one to start with. Basically, we're following the main character, Tisana, and she comes from a race of people who have magical abilities, but she is what is considered fragmented because she's half. And when she was a kid, her town was taken over by slavers, and she was sold into slavery. So now she's trying to buy her freedom from her master, and when she goes to him with the money to gain her freedom, he gets very insulted and beats her almost to the point of death. And this causes her magical abilities that have sort of been suppressed to come out, and she accidentally kills him. So now she goes on the run and goes off to find the Order, which is this society of magical people. And so in order to join the Order, she has to apprentice with somebody and then take a series of tests to prove her magical abilities. So she gets partnered up with this reclusive, grumpy man named Max, who is going to be training her. I loved this so much. Specifically, the relationship dynamic between Tisana and Max, because like I said, he's very grumpy at the start. He lives in this little cottage in the middle of nowhere. All he wants to do is take care of his garden and his flowers, and he doesn't give a fuck about anything else. So when Tisana turns up in his life, he's not happy with it, but she slowly wins him over, and they develop this really nice friendship. It really starts out as a friendship and kind of like a mentor-mentee relationship. I feel like a lot of times, most of the time, fantasy romances tend to lean enemies to lovers, and I just really enjoyed having like this sweet little friendship being like the foundation of their bond. This book also had some really cool magics that I'm not gonna get into because halfway through the book, there's like a certain kind of twist with what's going on in the magic, and it was very surprising and exciting for me. So I have now done a whole discussion of this book on my Patreon for our book club, but I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. I was really struggling while reading this because I wanted it to be 5 stars so badly, and I feel like in the first half I was definitely getting 5-star vibes from it. I really felt like it was going to be 5 stars. The first half of the book felt very cozy. It had this really cozy, like, domestic feeling to it, with the two main characters kind of just living together in this cottage, taking care of the garden. He was training her a lot, so there was kind of like training montages. It was just really cute and domestic, and I loved the first half. Then the second half of the book kind of went more into like typical fantasy, a lot of action, war stuff, fighting, and while I still enjoyed it, that's just not really what I love or care about. Like, I have said this a lot, I don't care about fighting scenes, I don't care about wars. If I could skip all of those scenes, I would. So that's why it's not 5 stars. If the whole book had been like the first half, I probably would have loved it so much more. But I did really love this, and I'm so excited to continue with this series. I loved the two main characters. The love interest is one of my favorite love interests in a romance book. He was amazing, and I just had a lot of fun with this one, but it was so close, and I think having it be so close to a 5-star really frustrating me, which is gonna be a theme throughout this whole video. Okay, so the next book that I am starting that I am hoping will be 5 stars, I think will be 5 stars, is episode 13 by Craig Louis. Prior to this book coming out, I'd never heard of this author before, but I think that he has a few horror books, and this one sounds so amazing. Ever since I first heard about it, I just knew that I had to read it and that I would love it. So this is a horror book that is told in a found footage style. It is following this paranormal ghost hunting reality TV show where they're going to film this special edition episode 13. They have gotten special permission to film in this old, like, haunted house where there's like rumors that this science team in the 70s conducted all of these experiments on people, and then everybody just vanished. So they're going there to see if there's any hauntings happening, and the book is told in like a mixed media style. It's told through like text messages, emails, video footage. So I don't know, I have good hopes for this one. Fingers crossed that we have found my 5-star. I finished episode 13 and it's not 5 stars, but it is very, very close. It is very, very close. I loved the audiobook of this. The audiobook was so amazing. It was full cast. It had music, sound effects, vocal effects. It genuinely felt like I was like listening to a movie. The writing, the style of this book, the plot was so fun. It's not your typical like haunting story, and I can't really say any more than that or I feel like it would spoil, but there is a horror movie. That is a found footage horror movie that I love, and this took a turn in that direction of like in the direction of that movie that I was not expecting at all. I think had this not taken that turn at the point that it did, I would have given it a slightly lower rating, just like half a star lower. I'm giving this 4.5 stars, okay? So very close to a 5-star. I think had it not made that pivot in the plot and the type of haunting that it would have been a 4-star, but the direction that it took really pushed it up to a 4.5. The plot was super, super fun. I loved like the idea of this show, and the main couple of the show are a husband and wife duo. The husband is very much like a paranormal believer, and he's trying to prove that these hauntings are real. His wife is a scientist, and she's kind of there to debunk anything. And you also have this ex-cop who is like part of their security. You have an actress who is on the show, and then you have the cameraman. Different characters are in love with different people, so it was like messy, there was drama. I think the reason why this is not a 5-star, why it was so nearly close, is because for me, for a book to be 5-star, I have to love the characters. I'm definitely more of a character reader than a plot reader, and I can have a book where there's absolutely no plot, but I love the characters so much, and I will give that 5 stars. Whereas you will give me a book that has an amazing plot, but if I don't love the characters, it's not gonna be 5 star, ever. There's no universe where I will ever give a book 5 stars if I wasn't in love and obsessed with the characters. And it's not that these characters were necessarily bad, I just feel like this was more of a plot book and less focused on the characters. So I just didn't particularly care for any of them, and I do find that that happens a lot in horror. For a found footage horror, for a haunting horror, this was amazing. And if you're a plot reader, I think you will really, really, really love this, but it just wasn't quite 5 stars for me. But overall, I did really enjoy it. I do recommend it. I really, really recommend the audiobook. That means that this video is still going. And I need to find another book to read. I feel like I need to take like a day and just kind of reassess what I want to read and what I'm in the mood for, because I don't know. I don't know what I should pick up next. So this video is being sponsored by one of my favorite sponsors on this channel, and that is Cellar. As you can see behind me, I have this beautiful selection of wines. And Cellars is a wine subscription company where you get a curated selection of wines delivered straight to your door. It's so simple. All you do is take their 7-question quiz, and they will match you with wines from all over the world, tailored specifically to your taste preferences. You get a choice from 12 different plan options and get wines sourced from over 80 different regions delivered straight to you. Each box comes with these wine education cards so that you can learn about the wines, the tasting notes, different pairing options, origins, serving temperatures, everything that you could want to know about each bottle. This subscription is perfect for any newbies to wine who want to try out a bunch of different options to figure out what you like, or someone who is more versed and advanced and would also just like to try a bunch of unique wine that you might not be able to find in your grocery store. Tonight's selection I've had chilling in the fridge for a little bit, but I'm going to be trying this wine from Columbia Valley. It is the Petal Press Rosé. This one says it is light, delicate, juicy, sweet tart with notes of lemon, nectarine, watermelon, and dried rose petals. I love sitting down with a nice glass of wine and reading a book. It is the perfect just like low-key Friday night. And Cellar is now offering my subscribers a limited time offer of $110 off your subscription. So you can click the link in the description to take the quiz and get started. And as always, thank you to Cellar for sponsoring this video. Okay, after this, I picked up The Watchers by A.M. Shine, I think. And I have absolutely no clips of me reading this because I DNF'd it after like 50 pages. I just really could not get into it, and I think at this point I was like super frustrated, and I was kind of feeling like with this experiment, like if I am a certain amount of pages into a book and I'm not enjoying it, it's definitely not going to be a 5 star, so like why continue reading it? And honestly, there was nothing like outwardly wrong with the book, and that's something that we'll discuss at the end, is why I don't really think that this whole experiment was a good idea. So I decided to completely switch gears and pick something else. Okay, so since nothing that I've been trying has been working, the next book that I'm gonna try, I literally forgot I even had this, but it's Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. This is a horror book about this sapphic couple, and one of the wives was on a deep sea mission for a long time, and she has just returned, and her wife is noticing there are things that are different about her since she has returned. She may have come back wrong. Whatever happened in that vessel, whatever it was they were supposed to be studying before they were stranded on the ocean floor, she has carried part of it with her onto dry land and into their home. Sounds so scary. One of my biggest fears ever is the ocean. That's why my favorite horror book is Into the Drowning Deep, because it genuinely terrifies me. So I feel 5 star potential from this, and I've heard amazing things about it, so I really hope that this is the one. Okay, so I finished Our Wives Under the Sea, and I don't know how I feel about this. It's definitely not 5 stars. There were times when I was reading this where I was like, I love this. This is amazing. This is totally my thing. And then there were other times where I was like, I think I kind of hate it. So now I don't know how I feel. The whole book is split into 2 timelines between the 2 main characters. We're following Miri, who has just gotten her wife back from this deep sea mission, but she's noticing that there's something very strange about her and dealing with that. But then we're also following her wife, Leah, in the past when she was on the deep sea mission underwater, and I much preferred Leah's chapters. I much preferred being in their submarine underwater with all of this like haunting, weird things going on. I think if that had been the whole book, it could have been 5 stars because those chapters were my favorite. But those were also the smaller chapters. I think the majority of the book took place in Miri's perspective and was more so about caretaking for a loved one who has had some sort of illness or accident that has drastically changed them and how hard that is. It really actually, those chapters reminded me of We Spread by Ian Reid, which I think maybe had I not just recently read that, I could have liked this more, but that's just not the kind of story that I like that much. And those chapters really did feel just like a big metaphor for caretaking for a loved one, like sort of the balance of mourning who they used to be and then having to accept who they are now and that being different. But yeah, I just didn't really care for those chapters, and it was so well written. Like the writing was beautiful, the writing was amazing. I just thought, like, I don't know. I think maybe I'm learning that I am triggered by caretaking stories and I don't like that. I don't want to read about it. So the chapters that were in the water, loved. But that was a smaller portion of the book. I think I'm giving it 3 stars, and that feels so mean because it's such a beautifully well-written book. I just don't think it was for me, and I'm sad about it because I really, really thought that I was gonna love this. And I feel like now I don't even know what I like, because with episode 13, I said I couldn't give it 5 stars because it was more plot focused and not really about the characters. And then this is the exact opposite. This has like not that much plot and is 100% about the characters, and I still didn't really like it. I think I don't know what I want. Now I'm like, is it me? Am I in a mood? Now I'm scared to pick up anything else. I don't know what I want. I thought I knew what I liked, but clearly I'm wrong. And I think I hate this challenge. Okay, at this point, I was so frustrated. I was so done with this experiment. I was over it because I just kept picking up books that were good and that I liked, but that I didn't love. And I almost felt like, was it me? Was there something wrong with me and my mood that like I wasn't connecting with anything? Or is it the pressure of the challenge and like needing to get a 5 star that was making me overthink and overanalyze everything that I was reading? I don't know. So I decided to actually like completely switch everything up and pick up something that I don't think is gonna be 5 stars. I was like, let me trick myself and maybe this will be the one that works. I had decided to pick up Out There by Kate Folk, which is a collection of short stories. The reason why I thought that this would not be 5 stars, despite the fact that it's been recommended to me a lot, is because I am typically not a short story collection person. I've never given a short story collection more than 3.5 stars because what happens with short story collections is that I'll enjoy some of them and then the majority of them are ones that I either like don't really like or are just fine, and so the overall collection I'm just kind of like average about. But this one I had heard really great things about, and I'd heard that it's kind of comparable to like Black Mirror and all the stories are really weird, and this is my 5 star. I was obsessed with this. I read it all in a day. I was kind of planning to just read a couple stories like over a couple days, but the second that I started it, I could not put it down. This was amazing and I'm so surprised by it, and I don't know if it's because I went into it thinking that it's not going to be 5 stars, but this was amazing and it completely changed my mind about short story collections. And I think what I realized my issue with other collections is I don't think that I like short story collections that are anthologies where there's like a general theme and a bunch of authors are writing stories within that theme. I prefer ones where it's all written by one author and the stories kind of have loose connections to each other, and it just feels more cohesive, whereas with anthologies they just feel so random to me and they don't feel like a collection. I will tell you what some of my favorite stories in here were, but like I am obsessed with this. I would love to see this turned into a TV show or like a Black Mirror type of series. The very first story and the last story are connected. They're about these things called blots, which are these like android men that were created in Russia, and they look exactly like humans. They're like beautiful male model men, and their sole job is to romance women and then steal all of their information, like steal their identity, steal their credit cards. It was just so interesting. Like I could read an entire book just about the blots. Some of my other favorite stories in here were Heart Seeks Brain, which was a story about people who have kinks related to actual body parts. So you'll have people who are like turned on by like lungs, and they're really into like lungs and breathing. Then you'll have people who it's like a heart guy. He's really turned on by hearts, and the crazy things that people will do to satisfy those kinks. Oh, the Bone Ward was another really great one. I think the Bone Ward was actually the longest story in here. It's about people who, they have like a medical condition where like randomly their bones will like liquefy. And so they have to be kept in this bone ward so that when their bones do liquefy, they're put into these like chambers that like keep their body together until they like re-solidify. That one was probably my favorite of all of them. Oh, another one that I loved was Shelter, which is essentially about a woman who's just feeling very neglected by her partner and the lengths that she will go to in order to get attention. Crazy. Yeah, this was just so good. This is definitely gonna be one of my favorite books of the whole year. I'm so glad that I picked this up for this video. Despite being so frustrated and like wanting to give up on this video, I'm glad that I didn't. And this was, I think, the perfect one to end off on because, like I said, I went into this completely not even thinking it would be 5 stars. And it totally surprised me, totally blew me away. I've since actually gone out and purchased a bunch more short story collections like this where it's all written by one author because I want to explore more of them since I had thought that I didn't like short story collections and now I'm realizing I can like them. So if you have any recommendations of other books that are similar to this, please let me know because I am obsessed with it. Okay, so to wrap up this whole experiment and how this went, I think that ultimately this experiment is not for me. It was not, I think, conducive to a great reading experience because I think when you're going into every book that you read hoping for it to be a 5-star or relying on it being a 5-star, it kind of takes away the experience because by a certain portion of the book I could tell if it was going to be 5 stars or not, and if it wasn't 5 stars, I felt very like defeated and almost like I didn't want to continue the book, even if it was a book that I was really enjoying. And so many of my favorite books I didn't actually even give 5 stars. So to me, a 5-star book is not like the end all be all of me loving and enjoying a book. Like with The Watchers, I could have finished that book and like maybe given it 3 stars and still, you know, enjoyed it. But I didn't even want to keep reading it when I knew it was not gonna be 5 stars. I felt like I was wasting my time. So yeah, I don't think I will be doing this experiment again. I am glad that I tried it because I do like trying new reading experiments, but I think of all the ones that I've done, this one was like the least fun experience for me. And I just felt very stressed and pressured. I really was not having a good time, despite the fact that the majority of the books were 4 stars or above. It was just too much pressure to try to find a 5-star book. So I hope you guys liked this video, despite the fact that it was not very fun for me. I'm also going to link in the description a bunch of other booktubers who have done this video. As I was filming it, a ton of booktubers that I watch and love also posted this same video. So I will link them down below if you want to watch more of these. I think they might have had better experiences than I did. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!